Well, for more on this, we now bring in Umgeni Local Municipality Mayor Pappas, who's now joining us via Zoom. Mayor, good morning and thank you so much for making time for us. What's the situation like this morning on that N3?
Good morning, Aldrin. The N3 is open in both directions. There is one lane still closed on the Johannesburg-bound side, and that is to clean up. There's a diesel spillage there. But traffic is flowing and motorists can either make their way back to Johannesburg if they did spend the night in the area or otherwise the weekly commute as usual.
Yeah. And speak to us quickly, Mayor, about the level of destruction that was witnessed yesterday, late into the evening as well, as EMS officials were trying to clear the scene.
It was a horrific scene, Aldrin. Over 40 vehicles involved there in various different forms, those being trucks, minibus, taxis, vehicles. The high number of high passenger carrying vehicles was also quite disturbing. And this was obviously because of the Easter weekend and people making their way back home. There was a lot of minibus taxis involved there, which meant that there was a lot of people, sort of on the sides of the roads, who've got out of those vehicles, a lot of people stuck there. But this road or the stretch of road is notorious for accidents. That is the Pietermaritzburg town hill. It's not usual that accidents take place on the Johannesburg bound side, but also, it is something that we've become accustomed to. So a high number of vehicles, the nature of the road, the curves did not help at all, sort of the blind curves. But also the mist. It was very, very misty across the Midlands last night, heavier than usual, which didn't help with visibility, both with the cleanup operations, but also I suspect that this had something a part to play with the severity of the accident itself, as you can see the images there on the side.
Yeah, and the other issue, as you point out, Mayor, is that that road is notorious, at least when it comes to the, I think it is the southbound. But what should happen now? What sort of intervention should we see happening on that particular road to ensure that we don't have as many accidents on that road? And also, most of them seem to involve trucks.
Yeah, Aldrin. Well, there's three real solutions here. The first one is a long-standing proposal that's been put forward by SANRAL, and that is to change the route of the N3 down the town hill. Many engineers have indicated that the gradient and the curves of this particular stretch of road are part of the reason why there are so many accidents, and there have been various alternative routes proposed that try to change this, but none of them ever implemented. There has been some work to increase the capacity of the road and to resurface it over the last year and a half. During that period, there was at least once a day an accident on that stretch of road. The second is more visible policing. We need the RTI to be more vigilant, to be more present, to stop the vehicles where they need to be stopped. At the moment it's free for all at times. So the visible traffic policing on that particular stretch of road. But Aldrin, the long-term solution is to get the trucks off the road. We've seen a huge increase, as the rail system has collapsed and as the Joburg to Durban rail system has collapsed, the amount of trucks on the road has increased significantly, and this puts a huge number of people at risk. Considering the route is predominantly this stretch of road is a commuter route between the Midlands, Pietermaritzburg and Durban. It's not only for those who are traveling interprovincially or regionally.
So then what should happen at a national level? Because I spoke to the SARS commissioner last week after the announcement of the revenue services collection for the year 2022-2023 financial year. And the issue that I raised with him was concerns that have been raised around Transnet's inability to operate the railway line.
Maybe you want to reframe the question. Are you asking in terms of how best to get the rail up and running? Or?
Yes, at a national level, because this is a national competency that we're speaking of.
Sure. No, thanks for that. So yeah, there's a number of issues with our rail. So firstly is the vandalism. So if there's better policing on the rails, There used to be railway police, and they're largely undercapacitated in certain areas. So that would be a starting point specifically for these long routes. But also there's been the idea that's been floated around, which is a good idea, and that is concessions. When you look at the N3, the parts of the N3 highway that are the most well run are those under the concessions, largely the N3TC. And this is run by a private company under concession. So doing this with the rails would also assist. If government hasn't got the money and it is actually a profit generating or has the ability to be a profit generating industry, then why not put it out to the private sector who will run it in a much more efficient and in a better way. But these things are often end up on pieces of paper, and they often end up as just talk. And what we need is less talk and more implementation to avoid these sorts of situations, but also to support the economy and the growth that we so desperately need.
Mayor, thank you so much for your time. But just a quick confirmation, the last update that you got following yesterday's accident, the death toll there is still at 5.
Yes, that's correct. There are a number of people in hospital. We haven't had any further confirmations of any deaths, so it's sitting at 5 at the moment.
Thank you so much for your time. That is Christopher Pappas, who is the mayor of the Umgeni Local Municipality.